Cool.
Cut
now,
that.
I'm gonna no, keep that in. That's good. America does run on Duncan.
That is true.
So we're doing lat movement.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest mistakes people use when they train lats is they use a range of motion they don't have. Most people, when they go overhead, they're pretty restricted. And yet we also think about lat training as starting from a position of overhead. So I've got Sam here. He's got some stuff cooking in his right shoulder right now. We're going to use his left for the demo just so I can kind of get a feel for things. But I'm going to look at where his elbow stays mostly neutral.
Now I'm all self-conscious. I know what you're talking about. I'm just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
This is really my game. I'm like, how can I make people feel awkward? No, I'm just kidding. So he lives in a little position of internal rotation. Elbow pit, aka cubital fossa, is somewhat internally rotated. So I'm okay with him staying here. I'm not going to make him like try to rotate it because that's going to put an artificial angle or a degree of rotation in his humerus here. But I do want you to turn sideways a little more. Good. Okay. I'm going to have you start to come into overhead motion, but go slow because I'm going to look at when his arm starts to deviate to the side and when his rib cage changes position. Calm back down. Okay. So this time when you go through it, I'm going to have you tell me when you start to feel like, oh, okay, yeah, I feel like I'm using some other degrees of freedom to get where I need to go here.
Okay. Like right here.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of rotation up here, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could even see that.
So this time I am going to have you take your thumb. Yeah, good. And
Kind of maintain that position.
Pause. He's starting to shrug right here. Can you see that? He's actually using a lot of anterior
a little
delt.
bit of a pinch. Not like a bad pinch, but just like a little bit of a, like, oh, that doesn't feel like it
So
should
let's
be doing
make training his rehab, shall we?
that. Oh, you're good.
Do that again. Tell me when.
Yeah, it's about right here. It's subtle. It's super, super subtle.
Okay. Could you put a number on it, 0 to 10?
2.
Okay.
It literally just feels like physical movement.
You just got a little something cooking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more time. I want to see what's going on with your scap. Yeah. Your scap movement. Okay. And you said you've been doing a lot of serratus work. Try a little.
Trying like hell.
Okay. So the reason I'm looking at his flexion is that's his available range of motion. That's where I'm going to start him in the movement. Or with setup. So setup for a lot of people is where I think there's a lot that you can do. There's a way that you can make a movement really work for you rather than just going through the motion. Movement should make you better in one way, shape, or form. Now that's all relative, whether it's for size, strength, or for mobility, but it should have a purpose to it. So we're gonna get Sam set up in roughly the same plane of motion. Come on over here, Sam. And I'm just gonna have you kind of come up and see roughly where you're at.
Okay.
I think we're gonna be pretty close here.
Right here?
Yeah. Now just starting here, start with your arm at your side.
No. Oh,
Go chest supported. Good. Okay, now go through that same motion and let me know when.
keep the thumb in that same.
Yes, because we want hand neutral. Yep, I'm right there. He starts to deviate a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you start to feel a little something there?
Yeah, I do.
And is it different, chest supported versus standing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's less, it's a little bit less, but I still feel that.
Interesting. Almost like when we give him some stability, things get a little better.
God, I feel like I'm just talking to the smarter version of me. I'm like,
Right.
stability. And people are like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, I am an
That's
idiot.
okay. I'm really honestly making this up on the fly. I hope I don't
That's
say
so
something
good.
really dumb.
This is so good.
Go ahead and grab this guy for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's actually a little bit more range than I want him to have. So we're going to move this down.
It's because I'm so tall.
God, you and I have in common.
Wait a minute.
Okay, now come down on the bench so you're actually supported.
Okay. Like so?
Yeah. How does that feel comparatively?
I'm sinking. There we go. Actually, that feels pretty good.
Okay. Is that about the range you were starting to get a little something cooking?
It may be a little bit greater.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I would go down one more. I
Yeah.
think that'll be spot on. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I like that. You're getting a different traction there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, lat training. Everyone wants to talk about how loading a position is a great way to regain some mobility. Totally agree, but you got to start at the end range where you're currently at, clean that up, and then look to raise the bar a little bit. So, lat training. A lot of people like to initiate with their biceps, and actually, we just talked about how a lot of times to get stronger at a lat movement, you have to kind of start to recruit some other muscles, whether it's upper back, bicep, even just trying to get a little bit of shrug or delt going on too. So I'm going to give Sam the cue. I want you to think about keeping your elbow low, but you're going to think about the trajectory of pulling your elbow down towards your hip, just like you would with a normal lat movement. Good. Hold that there. How's that contraction?
A little crampy.
Okay. Now, how does your shoulder position feel?
Shoulder feels fine.
Okay.
I am feeling a lot in that lat,
Good.
which is good.
Perfect. Come on back down. I'm gonna have you scooch towards the side of the bench a little bit so that your ribs can fold forward a little bit more.
Okay.
Good.
That's crazy. Scooch is a real word.
You know you're from the Midwest
Scientific.
when. Scooch on over there, eh?
Or a zhuzh. Give it a zhuzh.
Give it a zhuzh. Good old zhuzh there. So,
So.
okay, can you open this up a little bit? Good. Did that
Yeah.
change the contraction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, I don't want you to keep this pinned. I want you to let it move on the way up.
So kind of let that stretch.
Yes.
Feel.
Yes. Okay.
Open.
Try like 5 of those, and we're gonna change the weight.
Yeah, you probably don't have to go that much heavier.
So what we've done is we've optimized. So any movement that's going to be good for you is going to be based on your ability to execute. It's going to be based on joint alignment. It's going to be based on the mechanical profile, the tension, and your ability to standardize a rep, right? Which is really going to come down to stability. So we've encompassed all of those components here for Stam, where he's stable. We've scooched him over so that he can actually be in a good position.
That's good.
Okay.
That feels good.
We're gonna bump that up a little bit. That's too light.
Too jacked.
Take some rest and we'll do another set, but
Cool.
we're gonna retest the motion. How did that feel?
Felt very isolating on the lat.
Okay.
Honestly, like I didn't feel any sort of digging, any
Good.
sort of pinching, any sort of anything.
Felt comfy?
Yeah.
Comfy?
Now, in terms of the seat position, right? I'm noticing I zhuzhed over to the left there.
Yeah.
Do we want, like, you hear people talk about scaption, you hear all
Yeah,
this stuff.
yeah.
Now, is that something you need to consider when you're in this position or when you're working on this or what?
My caveat to that would be you gotta know someone's home base
Okay.
first, right? So like if I'm trying to tell someone how to get to a restaurant, if I don't know where they currently are, I can't help them get to the restaurant, right? We got to know where your body is before we
Right.
decide how we're going to manipulate the angle. So
Okay.
with regards to things like, everyone likes to talk about raising the scaption plane these days, and most people they don't know what scaption is. Like,
Exactly.
do your clients know what scaption is? Mine don't. So what I'll tell people is should be a little bit in front of the body, right? For lat training, and for you, I moved you over because you already live in a position where you're a little bit abducted
Yeah.
and you're incline rotated. So we're bringing you to neutral, but I want to access that abduction so we're closer to where you currently are, your current location, teach you how to get to the restaurant. Did I answer the question?
Yes, it did. It's like, just in like New England, there's a Dunkin' Donuts on every corner.
Sweet.
It's always like, yeah,
sounds
go
great.
to the Dunkin' and take a right.
Exactly.
Like, you know where that Dunkin' is, right? Yeah, that's the same idea.
Okay, cool.
Cut
now,
that.
I'm gonna no, keep that in. That's good. America does run on Dunkin'.
That is true.
I'm going to add one other key to that, and that is with regards to your left rib cage.
Okay.
I'm suspicious of your left rib cage just because of what I know what's going on with your right shoulder.
So do you think I'm
Maybe,
maybe?
possibly. I know if nothing else, we need to generate stability, right? So
Right.
generally, if there's compression happening at some place, it means that there's a lack of stability or a lack of lift or wedging or buoyancy somewhere, right? Given when working your left side, it's not going to hurt to get your left abs working a little bit more.
Sure.
So it can be that simple. It can be as complex or simple as people want it to be, right? Okay, so come back in that position.
Over here. Well,
Now this time, I lied. I'm going to have you stand up. We're going to move the bench back
okay.
because I want you to be able to actually feel your rib cage drive into a little bit of a posterior shift. So I want a little bit of thoracic flexion, which means I need to
Now-
move that up.
Question with that as well.
Yeah.
Now in terms of breathing, breathing can be a portion of this too. I don't want to get too in the weeds.
Yeah.
But I just know that if we're talking rib cage, is we can have
Yeah.
an impact on that with breathing. Right?
Absolutely. Breath is interesting because we talk about the rib cage as one unit, but really clinically, when I look at people, oftentimes there's different sections of the rib cage that I'm looking
Right.
at. So there's the upper rib cage, middle rib cage, and lower rib cage. And depending on where someone is not moving, whether they're compressed or something else, that's going to influence how I set them up.
Right.
So, big thing, I think, for most lifters, most of us actually live in not enough posterior expansion. So the big thing for you, I think, and with breath, and for most people who are watching this video, is you should be able to feel your posterior rib cage expand, which is a weird concept, and it's one that we don't talk about enough, but it carries a huge amount of weight with regards to shoulder health, bracing ability, lumbar spine, and even hips with
So essentially thinking about breathing between your shoulder blades, right? Like
And
expanding
even
that
below
way?
that.
And below that? Cool.
And you can even go left and right side. So with lat training too, because lats are going to, people like to talk about them as using the rib cage as a fulcrum. I don't know that I completely agree with that operational kind of viewpoint. It's close. I think it's a good way we can describe it. But what's happening with the rib cage is going to provide a springboard from which the lats are going to operate off of, right? Like you can't deny that physically and anatomically they're related and connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like an anvil, hammer, like whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's the foundation of what
Or like
you go for.
like if you have a tablecloth on top of a table, like the tablecloth has to be able to move on the table.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Cool. So I'm going to move that guy up. We're going to re-standardize this for your range.
You're lucky this wasn't you.
You know, if it were Justin, it'd be a totally different approach.
Oh, for sure. Probably way heavier.
Musical number.
We have to make sure the Wolf Girl song is on. The dancing lemurs in the background. All right, just give this a check for me real quick.
Okay. Now you want me zhuzhed over a little bit?
How does this feel?
I already feel, honestly, I
Yes.
think I feel my lat wanting to cramp.
Okay.
I'm right here.
Okay, I'm going to bump this down.
Okay. Like I feel like my body is fighting for that position. Oh, that's better.
Do what I can for you, my friend. I don't want you broken.
No, I don't want to be broken either. That sounds terrible.
Just for curiosity, take a deep breath in for me. Oh, okay. Can we bring the camera over here real quick?
Ah, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, rest.
Yeah.
All right.
The laughing gets me nervous.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to put you under a microscope, but I kind of do.
No, so good.
So when Sam breathes, I want to look at where his airflow is going. That's telling me where his rib cage is expanding, where it's not. That's going to help me as a clinician diagnostically figure out how do we get his shoulders feeling mo better. Okay, so I'm all up in your space. I'm sorry.
No,
honey.
you're good. You're good.
Go ahead.
At this point.
Lots of lower expansion, right? Can you see that, Jordan? Kind of from where you are. Do you feel that?
Oh, yeah, I fucking feel it. Yeah.
You got a lot
Even
here.
you just touching it, I'm like, ah, shit, there
Kind
it
of
is.
aware.
Yeah.
Now, is this something that you felt before, or does this feel like we're kind of diving into new real
No,
estate?
I've experimented with sort of where to direct the breathing. I don't think I've ever gotten it any higher than here.
You can't get here.
No.
Okay. We're going to look at this at some point because
Okay.
this kind of
Sounds like another
mid-scapular
video.
T5 to 7 region is a big deal. Okay, can you...
Be super self-conscious? Yes.
I'm so sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
Can you drape yourself forward over the bench a little bit more? Yeah. So you just found some flexion here. Does that feel different?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to move that up again. I'm sorry for the setup, but
No, you're good.
it's important for people watching this to know that you can manipulate your setup to work for you. So often we see people on Instagram, on Facebook, or the TikTok. I think that's what kids are doing, is what Justin said these days. The TikTok. But you need to make your setup work for you and accomplish your intent. Now, you do not have to be this clinical or diagnostic, but anything that you do should be set for you. Especially if you're going to take a movement and progress it for a series of weeks. You might need to spend, 2-3 weeks really honing in on setup before you really look to get crazy with overload or adding intensity techniques or rest pause or myo reps or anything you want to do. You have to standardize first. How does that feel?
It definitely feels like a stretch.
Yeah, you guys can see he's having a hard time actually opening up here too. Okay, so I should move this bench back, but we're just going to keep it for now.
Yeah, okay.
Go through that the actual exercise again. Keep this open at the bottom. Good. Hold that. Do you feel a little something cooking on throughout the entire lat?
Yeah.
Okay. Do like 5 of those, and we're going to retest your range of motion and see if you've got a little bit of a pinch. Because again, remember, training can be rehab.
Actually, maybe we should scooch this back just a little
Yeah.
bit. Because I'm waiting for that stretch to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
You're welcome.
There we go. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, so he's getting some movement here that he didn't have before. So a lot of people have certain areas of their body, whether it's their spine or their hips or their knees or whatever, that they move better through. Sam is really good at moving through his kind of lower thoracic, upper lumbar region, kind of TL junction. He's not so great at keeping mid T-spine. Good. Keep that elbow kind of sort of neutral and keep the elbow low towards my hand, lower. He's wanting to use a lot of bicep. There you go, better. Bring the elbow all the way down towards my hand on the next rep. Low, low, low. Better. Hold that.
Holy shit.
Okay. Take a breath in. Breathe out. You feel your left abs engaged.
Yep.
Okay, come on back up. How hard are you bracing with this right hand?
Oh, I'm squeezing the fuck out of it.
Okay, let off of that a little bit. I can
Okay,
drop
cool.
the weight. Cool, just for kicks and giggles, go ahead and stand up.
That was 90% of the DC row.
Was it?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
only thing
final
is
inflection.
If you move that down about 2 notches, whatever he did his upper back.
Flexion?
Yeah, that's the position for the DC row.
Okay, so,
Same thumb position.
yes sir.
Oh, please.
Does that feel better?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Now, is that a movement that you could take and train and progress?
Oh, 100%.
And did your overhead mobility improve?
Uh-huh.
Training equals rehab, my friends.